Hello everyone! Welcome once again to Brandao Collection. Today, we're going to take another look and give you an updated overview of our collection room here. So stick around and we'll take a look at that right after the jump. Alright, so today we thought it was time to do another collection room update, taking you around at all of the items we have here in our collection room, all of the items that have been newly added since the last time we took a look at the whole room, and some of the items that actually are no longer here as well. We have been selling a lot of the Hot Toys in the collection, kind of consolidating down to the ones we enjoy the most. There were some new ones that were added as well, but there's been a lot of changes going on here in the collection room and in our collection as a whole. So we'll jump over and take a look at each of the individual shelves of our Hot Toys figures and focus a little bit of some of the other miscellaneous items we have here in the collection, including our autographs and much, much more. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new videos. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll jump right over and take a look at the collection. First off, we're going to take a look at the individual IKEA Detolf cases. The first case we're going to take a look at is the one on the far right, and then we're going to make our way through each individual shelf to take a look at the figures that occupy each of them and talk a little bit about them in detail. The first shelf in the top right case is going to be kind of a Avengers Endgame shelf. You have the Endgame version of Captain America right there front and center. One of my favorite figures in all of my Hot Toys collection, looking fantastic. In the back there, you also have the Ant-Man and the Wasp version of Ant-Man. And you have on the right side the Endgame version of Black Widow. My favorite version of Black Widow, and currently the only version of that character in my collection. Below that shelf, we have our Mandalorian shelf with a couple different figures here. In the front, we have the Beskar version of Mando, the first version of Beskar Mando, with a custom Beskar steel staff that I purchased off of Etsy from a seller on there. We have Grogu right there at his feet. To the back left side, we have the Durasteel original version of Mando on his base, with the pram with Grogu in it that actually comes with the deluxe Beskar figure. In front of that figure, we actually have a signed plaque signed by one of the actors who plays the Mandalorian in the suit, and that is Brendan Wayne, and it is verified and certified as an authentic autograph. And then in the back right corner, we have IG-11 in his full, partially die-cast glory. They're representing, of course, a lot of major pieces of Season 1 and Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Below the Mandalorian shelf, we have a little bit of the Star Wars sequel films shelf. Right there in the middle, we have Kylo Ren. This is the Last Jedi version of the figure, and we actually have a Hot Toys dynamic base below him that is signed by the actor who plays Kylo Ren, Adam Driver. On the left side of him, we have a First Order Stormtrooper from The Force Awakens, and then on the right side, we have the Rey from The Rise of Skywalker, which in my opinion is the best version of Rey that Hot Toys has made up to this date. The final shelf on this IKEA Detolf has two kind of random figures, but they are comic book related. First off, we have the Hot Toys version of the Crow on the left side, and behind him is actually the box that goes with him that I personally got signed by most of the surviving cast and the creator of the Crow a few years ago. And then on the right side is the last of my DC figures. I actually sold off the rest of the DC figures we had in the collection, and the one that is remaining is the Dark Knight DX11 Joker, which is one of my all-time favorite figures and one of the earliest figures I purchased for my collection, so he'll be sticking around for now. Moving over to the second case that's right in the middle, and starting at the top shelf, we have the Battle of Wakanda from Infinity War, represented here by a couple different characters. First off, we have the Infinity War version of Captain America right there in the center. Then on his right side, we have Black Panther in the figure from his specific solo film of the late great Chadwick Boseman. On the left side of Captain America, we have Bucky Barnes, or the Winter Soldier from that film. And then hovering in the back is the Infinity War version of Thor. Overall, a great display, and I love that photo of Wakanda that I was able to purchase online to fit in the back on this particular shelf. Right below that Infinity War shelf is one of the centerpieces of my collection. It is the Spider-Man shelf. And right in the center, we have the Miles Morales figure from the PlayStation video game. On his left side, we have the homemade suit. This is the version from Far From Home that came with the Mysterio drone. Then on the right side, we have the tech suit from Spider-Man Homecoming with the Tom Holland head sculpt on it right now. Then in the back left, we have the Spider-Man 2099 figure from the PlayStation video game. In the center, we have the man himself, the one that we're all here for when it comes to Marvel collecting, Stan Lee. And then on the right side, we have the Scarlet Spider from the Spider-Man PS4 game as well. Moving down to the next shelf, we have a representation of my personal favorite Star Wars film of all time, The Empire Strikes Back. Now, starting off with the big bad himself, we have the Empire Strikes Back version of Darth Vader made by Hot Toys. Then next to him on the right side, we have the Empire Strikes Back version of Yoda with his little Dagobah diorama set. In the back behind him is actually a new acquisition to the collection that we have not done a video on yet, and that is the Snowspeeder version of Luke Skywalker. And then we also have the Sideshow Collectibles version of the Snowtrooper. The final shelf on this particular case has our JazzInc diorama of the Rebel base on Hoth. One of the most incredible pieces in my entire collection. I love this diorama and how dynamic it makes the figures look, especially right now we have the Empire Strikes Back Hoth Leia in here. One of my personal, if not the best costume in my opinion that she wore through the original trilogy. Moving over to the next case on the left side, on the top shelf we have the Guardians of the Galaxy, a majority of the main characters from the first two films and of course the Avengers films as well, starting off with the Volume 2 version of Star-Lord with a Infinity War shirt that I purchased on eBay that he got added there with his mask on. Then we have the Volume 2 version of Gamora, which is also the same outfit she was wearing in Infinity War. Then we have Rocket from the first Guardians of the Galaxy in his orange jumpsuit. Then we have Groot hanging out there in the back. They came as a part of a 2-pack, Rocket and Groot together. Then we have Nebula, which is actually a figure from the Avengers Endgame line. Then all the way in the back, we have quite possibly one of the greatest head sculpts ever done on a 1/6 scale figure, and that is for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 version of Yondu. Other than those figures we went over, there are little Groots hanging out on the shelf, and we even have this 1/6 scale posable dancing Groot from the first film. Below the Guardians of the Galaxy, we have some more Marvel Cinematic Universe characters, specifically a little bit of No Way Home mixed in with my personal favorite of all of the Iron Man suits from the films. We're going to start off looking specifically at the Iron Spider from Infinity War, and of course he used the same suit in the last two Spider-Man solo films as well. Then in the back, we have Doctor Strange. This is the figure from the first solo Doctor Strange film, which they've made a lot of Doctor Strange figures since then, and they still have some more coming out, but I still think that this is the one I prefer. And then finally on the shelf, we have the Mark 7 suit from the first Avengers film. This is the re-release that Hot Toys did a few years ago in full die-cast with the upgraded posability. And you can see from this pose that you can get some amazing looking looks from this figure. And once again, this is my personal favorite suit out of all the Iron Man suits in the MCU. Then we have our Back to the Future shelf, which we have here a Hot Toys Marty McFly, and the box that has been signed by the entire cast of the original film. You have Michael J. Fox on there, Tom Wilson, Leah Thompson, Christopher Lloyd, James Tolkien, Claudia Wells, Harry Walters, Billy Zane. So you have a good number of that main cast and some supporting cast from the original film, one of my all-time favorite films. And you have the Marty McFly figure here. This is the original version of this figure from Hot Toys, and we have a little bit of a diorama here other than the box with some Hill Valley in the background on the bottom there and some other miscellaneous items representing that first Back to the Future film. And finally, on the last shelf of this Detolf case is our Doctor Who shelf, which has our 3 personal favorite of all of the Doctors that have existed up to now. We have, of course, my favorite Doctor, the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant. Then in the back there, we have Tom Baker, who is the 4th Doctor, probably one of the most popular of the original Doctors. This figure also comes with a plaque that was signed by Tom Baker. And then the last figure we have here on this shelf is Matt Smith, who played the 11th Doctor. And this is the last figure from his final season. And all 3 figures were produced by Big Chief Studios. Moving over to the final case that's on the opposite wall, we're actually going to start on the shelf that is all the way at the top of the case itself. And up there we have the Robocop Ed 209 from Hot Toys. This is actually the second release version of the Ed 209, and right now it's actually the only spot that this fits, so it's up here on the top of this case. Now, starting with the top shelf of this case, we have our Johnny Depp 1/6 scale collection. All of these figures were produced by Hot Toys. The first one I want to start with is the Captain Jack Sparrow one. This is the version from On Stranger Tides. This is the one that I'm going to keep. Captain Jack Sparrow is one of my all-time favorite movie characters and favorite Johnny Depp performances. So we have that represented here. Then, of course, we have Sweeney Todd from Sweeney Todd Demon Barber of Fleet Street with his barber chair there. Then in the back behind him, we have Ichabod Crane from Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton movie. And then all the way in the back there, we have Johnny Depp's portrayal of Grindelwald from the second Fantastic Beasts film. Right below that shelf is kind of a hodgepodge of classic movie characters from different time periods, mostly kind of skewing towards the 1980s. But we have here, of course, Robocop, the die-cast version of Robocop from the first film made by Hot Toys. Then next to him, we have Indiana Jones. This is actually an older Hot Toys figure. It doesn't, in my opinion, have that great of a Harrison Ford sculpt, but as of right now, it is the only Indiana Jones official Hot Toys figure that has been done up to this point. Hopefully we get one in the future. Then behind Robocop, we have the battle damage version of the T-800 from Terminator 2. One of the best, in my opinion, figures that Hot Toys has ever produced. Then all the way in the back there, we have King Leonidas from the movie 300, which is actually the first Hot Toys figure that I ever got. So he is the one that started this entire collection back in 2008. As we make our way further down, we get closer to our horror movie figures, and we start that off with the Hot Toys version of Pennywise the Dancing Clown. This is another figure we got earlier this year in 2022 that, as of right now, we haven't done a video going over this figure, but I am in absolute love with it. I love all the display options. I love the little diorama base with the drain going down. You can actually store the second head sculpt in, so you have that look of him in the drain stalking Georgie. If you are interested in seeing a showcase of this particular figure, let us know in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to do a video going over this figure, looking at some poses, and doing a full kind of overview of it. We now come to the final shelf of the final DTOF case, and that is the full-blown horror movie shelf with a couple different horror movie classic icons. First off, we have Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the Sideshow Collectibles version of the figure. Behind him, I have a Jason Voorhees figure, which is actually a custom figure that I personally made myself just by mixing pieces from multiple different figures, finding different outfits, painting it up with different paint, and just making my own kind of version of the character. Next to him in the middle, we have Ghostface from the Scream films, once again from Sideshow Collectibles. Then we have the Nun right there in the front on the left side. That one is actually from QM Studios, which is another one of my favorite figures in my horror movie collection. And then behind her is the Michael Myers from the original Halloween. This one was actually done by Trick or Treat Studios. The last piece when it comes to the DTOFs is on the top of those DTOFs on the main wall. We do have some leftover MCU figures. We have Iron Man here from Infinity War. We have Thanos from Infinity War. Also moving over to the other shelf, we have some leftover figures from the original Avengers film, which include the original Loki figure, the original Bruce Banner figure, which as of right now is actually the only Bruce Banner that Hot Toys has produced. Then we have the Hulk from the first Avengers film, and we have a little mini kind of Ant-Man riding on top of an ant. Now, as you can see, because we sold off pretty much all the rest of the Avengers that were on this top shelf, these figures may not stay in our collection for much longer. We might be selling these very, very soon, and then changing out what type of items are displayed here on the top of the DTOF. So right now, they're up there kind of in the top, making their way out of our collection. That now brings us over to the main shelves you see when you first walk right into the room, and that is our big Star Wars shelf. And the way we have the figures posed here is we have them put together in chronological order by the story of the different Star Wars films. So of course we start on the left side with the Phantom Menace, represented by the Darth Maul figure and Qui-Gon Jinn. Moving into Attack of the Clones with Count Dooku and Jango Fett jumping up behind him. Jango Fett being another new acquisition we got this year that we have not done a video on yet, but if you're interested in that, let us know in the comments below. Moving on to the next film of the prequels, we have Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, represented with a little bit of the Clone Wars mixed in there. So we have Anakin, of course, we have Captain Rex, and we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. Then, moving in between, we have the representation of Rogue One, my personal favorite of the Disney-era films. We have K2SO, Jyn Erso, Director Krennic. We have the more recent version of the Shore Trooper by Hot Toys, and we have a Death Trooper behind Director Krennic. Then, moving into the original trilogy, we have our New Hope section here. So we have R2-D2 and C-3PO. We have Luke and Leia, Chewbacca and Han Solo, the New Hope versions of those figures. We have Tarkin and Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Sand Trooper, and the original Hot Toys Stormtrooper. Then we actually already had and showed you the Empire Strikes Back shelf on the DTOFs, so we're actually going to jump over to Return of the Jedi with Wicket and Endor version of Princess Leia. Then we have Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi. We have the Luke Skywalker from that film. We have Bossk kind of mixed in there, just kind of left over from some of the other figures we sold and moved around on that shelf. Then we have Emperor Palpatine transitioning into the sequel films with Finn right next to him. Then we have the Force Awakens version of Luke Skywalker, BB-8, the Jakku or regular version of Rey from The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens as well, and then finally we have Rey from The Last Jedi. Right below the shelves with the Star Wars Hot Toys figures, we have some other miscellaneous Star Wars memorabilia, mainly from Galaxy's Edge at both Disneyland and Hollywood Studios, both in California and Florida, including Luke's lightsaber here. We have some Coca-Cola bottles, some other miscellaneous memorabilia, including the holocrons. On the wall, we have a 11 by 14 sketch, both drawn and signed by the creator of The Clone Wars and The Mandalorian, Dave Filoni, one of my prized possessions. We have a light box that was designed and created by Hot Toys. Also on the wall, we have pins from the last few years of Star Wars Celebration. As we make our way around, we have some Thomas Kincaid paintings. We have different multi-signed pieces from The Mandalorian. We also have an original storyboard signed by one of the stop-motion animators of The Empire Strikes Back for the Battle of Hoth, John Berg, that was purchased from the prop store. We have an original crew patch from Empire Strikes Back as well, and a few other miscellaneous vintage figures, ornaments, and even a VHS tape that is signed by the director of The Empire Strikes Back, Irvin Kershner. On the opposite wall, we have some of our favorite Star Wars autographs hanging up. We have Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Alec Guinness, George Lucas, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, James Earl Jones, David Prowse. Now, all these pieces are scans, high-resolution scans of each of these autographs, and they have been printed out and put here. The originals are kept in a safe place out of the sunlight, so of course to make sure that we have them protected and keeping the same look as for many years to come. I'm cheating here a little bit by showing you a clip from our previous collection tour in February, so you'll see that January calendar there on the right side, but we haven't changed our comic book display since February. The exact same comics are up on the wall, so just to share with everybody what our comic book wall looks like, what comics are currently displayed up there, and maybe sometime soon I'll go ahead and change some things around, but I still like the way it looks, and it has some of my all-time favorites up here, so this is the way it's going to stay from February to now August and for the foreseeable future until I decide, you know what, I'm going to change some things around a bit. Thank you so much for watching today and going through our collection with us. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new videos. We have some more exciting content throughout the rest of 2022 and into the future. Thank you once again for joining us, and as always, keep on collecting!